I'm just here as the opening act, I guess. So, sing and dance for you a little bit. Now, anybody here, besides obviously the media and stuff like that, from the local Peachtree City, Georgia area, Atlanta? We appreciate you letting us come into the area, and hopefully we can do a really good job. Show everybody else what we can do. Our job is obviously to represent Navy and Marine Corps, but it doesn't mean that the Army is not included in what we do. So just represent all people in uniform as best we can. So this is a little simple way of thanking y'all. We go all around the country and everybody thanks us for our service. This is our chance to thank you for your service as well. So appreciate that. Anybody, I know you guys have been wandering around the airplane for a little bit. If you have any questions, yeah, I know you've all been briefed up quite a bit on as well, but believe me, these last couple of briefs will be worth it.
No JADO anymore?
No JADO. Last JADO was in 2009. We had a little bit of stockpile down in Pensacola, and a hurricane came through and wiped them out. And it's just way too expensive nowadays to keep that program up. So, yeah, unfortunately, before my...
Alright folks, thanks for coming out. My name is Captain Katie Higgins and I'm going to be the pilot in the left seat today. The pilot in the right seat is going to be Major Mark Hamilton. At the flight engineer station is going to be Gunnery Sergeant Josh Samuels. At the nav station is going to be Gunnery Sergeant Chris Villalobos. And in the back for your safety and entertainment we have Gunnery Sergeant Micah Bachtold and our two JADO dogs, Petty Officers DeMichaels and Samaniego. Now that I've introduced my crew, I'm going to give them a quick crew brief. You're welcome to listen in. Once I'm done with that, I'll go over some safety things with you and then we'll get you loaded up and get you on the flight. Sound good? Alright, crew time is now 3-1. We'll man at 4-5 for a top of the hour takeoff. Our show line today is the line marked with the white balloons and the red balloons. The 500-foot line is going to be the outboard edge of the runway, and our center point is marked by a bunch of white balloons. As far as emergencies go today, anything that occurs prior to VMCA will abort. After VMCA, we'll take it flying and handle it as an airborne emergency. Anytime you see something unsafe, I want to hear knock it off. I'll roll wings level, assess the situation, decide if we can continue. As far as normal profile today, we'll take the runway 31, we'll set to max power. At 80 knots, I'll take the yoke. Above VMCA, I'll take it flying and fly down the runway between 3 and 5 feet with the gear retracted. Between 150 and 170 knots, we'll pitch 45 degrees nose up with a 110 push over the top. We'll get our gear and flaps cleaned up, we'll clear left and right, and then we'll execute a 60-degree angle bank turn to the left to set up for the parade pass. We'll then execute a reversal turn at 60 degrees angle bank and 2 Gs to set up for the inbound for the parade pass. I'll descend no greater than 4,000 feet per minute and no less than 500 feet until I call contact. Target altitude today for the parade pass is going to be 300 feet. Once we're abeam the crowd line, we'll call roll and execute a 60-degree angle bank turn to the left for the parade pass. Once we get on our egress line, we'll roll wings level and pitch 10 degrees nose up to an altitude of about 1,000 feet. At 2 miles, I want to hear the call, and I'll call roll and execute a 60-degree angle bank turn to the right to set up for the flat pass. Again, I'll descend no greater than 4,000 feet per minute and no less than 500 feet until I call contact and no less than 200 feet until I'm wings level. Target altitude today for the flat pass is going to be 40 feet at 320 knots. As we're approaching center point, I want to hear standby, center point. I'll call pull in and execute a 10 degrees nose up climb with a 60-degree angle bank turn to the left to set up for the head on. Again, it'll send no greater than 4,000 feet per minute and no less than 500 feet until I call contact. Target altitude today for the head on is going to be 250 feet. As we approach head-on, I want to hear 0.5, I'll call pull-in, and execute a 20 degrees nose-up climb with a 60-degree angle bank turn to the right to set up for downwind. Once on downwind, we'll drop our gear and flaps, we'll get configured, we'll do our checklist, and then I'll execute a 45-degree angle bank turn at 2 miles to set up for final. Once on final, we'll drop our flaps to 100, we'll slow down to just above stall speed, and I'll call push-in. We'll then descend down at a 30 to 25-degree angle bank down towards the deck. It'll look like we're going to crash, I promise we're not going to. And we'll pull the nose up, we'll do a max effort braking, and then we'll do a really cool wheelie at the end, pop the nose off the ground, and then we'll taxi back here and take some pictures. Any questions?
Right. Just so you know,
Okay. Alright, so just going over some stuff today. Obviously during that brief, some of you probably didn't understand that because it's a lot of aviation talk, but I'll try to break it down a little bit for you. So we're going to be pulling anywhere from 2 Gs to 0 Gs. So the 2 Gs is going to be about twice your body weight. You're going to feel heavy in your seat. Anything that you're holding in your hands will also be heavy. Don't worry about G-locking or anything like that you might hear on the news or passing out. That is reserved for our guests who fly the Hornet. That one pulls upwards of 8 Gs, so we're only a fraction of that. So yeah, you'll feel heavy in your seat, but not to worry. The 0 G portion of it will be right after we take off. We'll pitch up pretty high, and then as we're pushing over, that's where you're going to get that 0 G. So anything that you have in your hands, cameras, phones, anything like that, will go floating as well. You will go floating if you're not cinched down into your seat. So please make sure that your seatbelt is tight and that everything you have either on your head or in your hands or draped around your neck is in your positive control, because as we put those G's back on, that stuff will come crashing down to the ground and break into a million pieces, and I'm not going to have my guys stay and pick it up. I'm going to have you guys stay and pick it up. That also goes for the contents of your stomach, so we will be handing out barf bags because it does happen often, so don't be upset if you do get sick. But please, I beg you, don't pull this maneuver. It turns into a sprinkler and gets all over your buddy, and it's really gross. So just get sick in the bag and then hold it tight once you get sick so it doesn't come out and get all over you again, because that's really gross. As far as some other safety things for you today, your primary exit is going to be the crew entrance door, which is all the way in the front on the left-hand side. You can see the sunlight coming through down there next to the American flag and the 245 all the way in the front. You'll exit in and enter off of there. That'll be how we get you on the plane. So just go out that exit if you can. I'll obviously defer to those guys that I introduced you to earlier in the back, because if we do have an emergency or something that causes that exit to be blocked, we do have others and they'll point you to those. So we do have the 2 parachute doors here on the side, and then obviously this very large exit that I'm standing under now, the ramp and door. So if something happens and they need to evacuate you, I ask that all of you muster 100 feet in front of the nose so we can get accountability and make sure we didn't leave anybody behind. Are there any questions with any of the safety stuff? No? Alright, how many of you guys are excited to be out here? How many of you guys flown on a C-130 before? Oh, nice. So probably going in country, stuff like that. This will be different than any other Herc ride you ever had, and it'll ruin every other Herc ride that you have from here on out. Because you're going to be in country like, come on, do it, push over, and then they won't. So, but it'll be a good time, and you can take it back to your fellow Army buddies and tell them the experience that you had with the Marine Corps side of the house. So I think it should be fun. I'm not sure what Major Hamilton, we call him Fireball, touched on before he got here, but I'll just go over a couple things. So I heard him say that Fat Albert did come to the team in 1970, not this particular aircraft, but the C-130 itself. This aircraft came in 1991, so it's approximately about 5 years younger than I am. So we were almost the same age. She is in charge of carrying 35,000 pounds and 40 people to every show site, in addition to the demo that you're going to be on now. The reason that we do that is if one of the jets has a maintenance issue or something on the road, we have all of the tools and the equipment that we need to fix it, as well as those awesome maintainers that we have. Surprisingly, the jets are actually the oldest in the fleet that we have here. Some of the jets are older than I am, so the reason that they look so beautiful and perform the way that they do are those awesome maintainers that we do take with us on the road. And they're in the dark blue. So Sam and Diego and DeMichaels that I introduced you to, they are maintainers, but they help us out on Bert to make sure that you guys are safe in the back as well. Additionally, Fat Albert is in charge of kind of shuttling people over the ocean as well. So we take people to Hawaii on the shows that we have that, and then next year we're going to Alaska. So we'll be taking people as well. So she doesn't take too much cargo there because, as you can see, she's a slip wing, meaning she doesn't have any external pods on her wings or any aerial refueling capability that you would see on another C-130. So we can't carry as much fuel, so we can't carry any cargo because we can't make it across the water if we have any cargo in it. So traditionally, the Marine Corps C-130s are a C-130J model. So they have six bladed props. Sorry, say that 10 times back. They have 6 bladed props, and they also have new engines, and they have all glass interior up in the front. So she is a T model, which is an older model that you only see in some of the reservist squadrons, and you'll see it in the Navy, and you'll also see it in the Air Force. The Air Force is also getting rid of it in favor of the J. So the J is what I flew in combat in Afghanistan and in Africa theater when I was over there. The J model is very unique in that it can do a lot of different missions. So I would wake up one day and do aerial refueling, and that's where we kick out hoses and let fixed wing or rotary wing assets refuel off of us. I also did aerial delivery like we did today when we dropped the leapfrogs. We dropped cargo and stuff to people who are out on FOBs that can't get refueled or can't get replenished for some other reason, we can drop it to them. Additionally, I was on the Harvest Hawk platform in Afghanistan. The Harvest Hawk is a C-130 that's outfitted with Hellfire and Griffin missiles, so we were able to stay on station for over 12 hours when we were over there to protect those guys on the ground, and able to employ it against the enemy. So that was definitely a cool mission to do over there. So it's also about the C-130 and why I love it so much and why I will continue to fly it for the rest of my career is that I can do so many diverse missions and I can go from one mission to the other every single day. And a C-130 pilot, as with all of my brethren in the fleet, have to be proficient in all of those missions. And so it's definitely a really cool thing. You never get bored. I'm not teasing the jet guys, but they only do fighter attack stuff, and it's the same thing every day. So, but does anyone have any questions about the C-130, about the Blue Angels, about the Marine Corps in general?
Do they still do that slow flyby thing at the end?
Yeah, the jets do, yeah. So it's called the High Alpha Pass. Yep, and they go actually less than 150 knots at that, and they have a very, very high angle of attack, or AOA, or that's what alpha is. Right. So they do that very high alpha, so you will see it today in the show. Any other questions?
You said you'd be coming in near close to stall speed on,
yes, sir.
On the tactical arrival.
Yes, sir.
What's the dirty stall speed on this here?
We're at 95 knots is when we push, but I bet she could probably get down to 85, maybe 80, but I don't want to play with that number for your guys' sake and mine. So we've always pushed at 95. We get that little buffer there, but I would bet that 85 knots would shoot. You definitely feel her stall out. You could stall the rudder before that though. But,
oh, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Alright, well, we'll get you guys on board. I hope you enjoy it. We'll take pictures and stuff afterwards. Thank you so much for the other service members for being here. Definitely love flying you guys, and I encourage the media to talk to these guys here, get their stories too, because theirs are probably as interesting or more interesting than mine. So thank you guys for coming out, and I hope you enjoy the flight.